Okay, the planter is lined with 6mm plastic, and I just stapled it along this bottom edge of this board here, mostly. Anyway, enough to hold it up out of the way. Okay, good. And socks only, right? No shoes. You don't want to tear holes in this. This is really just to protect the EPDM rubber from any abrasion from the walls or rocks that might be in the sand, something sharp, just as an extra precaution. But I might use it as a, what I'm thinking about doing is using it as a backup liner as well. I don't know what I'll seal this with, but basically I've got a nice round seal around these. There'll be a little hide and seek so you can get the camera down here. Okay, so I might put some latex glue, this latex roofing glue around this to help seal that there and there. And then that'll help, this will kind of be a backup liner to my EPDM rubber, okay? And this technique I saw on YouTube, it wasn't one of the official Earthship videos, it was another one where the guy had used a piece of pipe, and this is just stuff I have laying around. That stuff, this size I did, that size I didn't. I ended up buying both of them anyway because I wasn't sure what I had at the house, and that's what always happens to me. I'm not sure what I have, so I buy more of it, and then I have extra of it laying around. But basically, you just trap the plastic between here. You lay the plastic on top of your board, and then you put this on it, and then you just rotate it until it cuts through. And so that worked really well. And I got some nice round holes. You can see the plug down there on the ground. And they stretched over nicely. So I got a couple different sizes. The EPDM rubber is going to stretch a lot more, so I think I'm going to use that size for this size pipe. I'm not going to use the bigger one. This plastic doesn't stretch hardly at all. I mean, it stretches a little bit, and that's why I use the bigger one, but on the EPDM rubber, I'm going to use the little 3/4 inch right there. This is a 1 inch. 1 inch, okay. And that's 3/4. And so that'll give me a smaller hole in the EPDM rubber, but it'll stretch more, and then it'll be tighter. Okay, and I'll detail that when I get to that. Cool. All right, so my plan is to pull this plastic back. I'm going to put like a 2 or 3 inch strip of latex roofing adhesive right at the bottom of this bevel here, right where it goes vertical, from there down about 2 or 3 inches all the way around. I'm going to use the level to mark it on this side to get it the same height across here. And then I'm going to put my plastic back up against it and seal it and let that dry. Then we'll put the EPDM rubber in, and that will give me this much space to glue the EPDM rubber to, because I'd like to bring it up to this edge basically and go ahead and glue it with that roofing cement. That'll fill all the holes, that'll keep it sealed there, it'll keep water from encroaching behind it, and we'll do that all the way around. Okay, so that's what the latex strip looks like. And 2 or 3 inches, probably more like 3, I guess. And then I've just, it's not quite tacky here yet. It started to get tacky here where I started, so I went ahead and started it. Brought it around. This is still pretty wet right here, so we're going to let that get tacky, and then we'll spread it along this edge. Okay, so this is what the plastic liner looks like. Some wrinkles, lots of wrinkles, but it is covered into all the edges tightly, so when the dirt pushes, it won't pull it down or pull it up or tear it. So there's plenty, even there where it's all wrinkly, it all tucks underneath along the edge of the tire bales there, so good. This part where this water spigot comes in, I already had the valve on, so I just split it and ran it up around. The dirt level is going to be about this height anyway. It might be a little bit higher than that, but I'll definitely put the EPDM rubber, stretch the EPDM rubber over that, get it over that valve, and then... Kind of a pain to get this in by myself, but I did it in about an hour. So I brought it in the box that it came in, like that. I looked in the box, it looks like it would just unroll. It was 3 feet wide, so it would unroll perfectly down this. This is a little bit wider than 3 feet, so I set it in here and unrolled it, and then found out that they had folded it long ways and then folded it in half and then rolled it up. So I had it actually 12 feet going this way, 30 feet going this way. And so I had to turn it around and pull it. And fortunately, I didn't pull any of my plastic down that it was laying on, because this is not light. This thing's super heavy. This is 12 by 30 EPDM rubber. I think it was 55 mil. I'll correct it in the description. I mean, in the video if I'm wrong. So it's pretty thick stuff. Socks only, obviously. No shoes. I was real careful to get all the gravel out and anything that I might step on and start to wear a hole in it. Another reason I put this plastic down is just to help protect this. So I'm tacked it up here with screws, and this is well above the dirt line. The dirt line is going to be somewhere down here, so I don't care if that tears. I wanted a little bit of over in case as I'm filling with gravel it starts to stretch this down and or pull it down. Then I'll still have some wiggle room here. I have plenty hanging over here. I got so this is roughly 3 feet by 4 feet by 3 feet, whatever that is, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I got it 12 wide. I think it might be a little bit wider than that, but in any event, I have plenty left over. So I'm going to be cutting it here, so this is going to be plenty left over to put as flanges or rubber washers over these pipes and these pipes that I have down here. Okay. So good. So this company, Lottie's Roofing, I think is what it was. Actually, it's right there on the can. Lottie's Roofing, Lottes, out of Missouri, I think. I ordered this stuff on Wednesday, and Friday afternoon it was at my house. So it's like Amazon ship. I was super impressed. So this was $400 something, this EPDM rubber. I did order 3 of those latex. It doesn't look like they're quite a gallon. I can't remember what they are, but that's latex roofing cement, and it's this tan stuff that you can see here. Of course, you saw it in the previous video where I did this. So that's what I'm going to use around this upper edge here just to hold it in place until we get it all filled. And hopefully I'll do this right. My understanding is you want to make sure that you're not pulling it up where you want this smashed up against the edge, just like the dirt's going to push it in the gravel. So I'm going to push my knees right into that corner there to hold that in place. Then I'm going to lift this up and kind of curl it underneath here. I don't want weight on this at all, so I don't want rubber pulling on this. So I'm going to cut it a little bit higher than what I think I would otherwise. So I'm going to pinch it right about there, and that's going to be where my hole's going to be, right there. So I'm going to take this. I can see my little pinch mark there. I'm going to put this behind here. That little pinch mark right there is what I'm going to center this over. And let me just double check this one more time. Let's just make a little marker with my fingernail. Make sure I got this all lined up here like I want it, because I need rubber coming up here. Want to make sure I have it covered in this corner here, and where I can press it all against this corner nice and tight, because that's what the dirt's going to do. And let's just do this one more time. So that'll leave me a little bit of sag room right there. And I'm in the same spot. Okay, good. So let's put this board behind here. Now I've sharpened this with a file and the grinder, so hopefully this will be enough. Or at least to get it started. Okay, that did it. At least I think it did it. Okay. So this hole's probably going to be a little small. I'm not going to be able to stretch it over this valve is my fear, but I wanted to kind of practice here before I did the critical pipes over there that are going to be underwater. So let's just see what this does here. I think if I'd done a hole like 1.5 inches, something bigger, I mean, obviously I'm not going to get this stretched over the valve, but that's basically what it's going to look like. Okay, so this is going to be right at dirt. The dirt level is going to be somewhere right about here, right across here. So this will be a little bit under the dirt. I'm actually going to have a box built around this to keep the dirt out of it, to keep the moisture out of it. So we've got to split the rubber up here. I'm not worried about water getting in here, so let's just see. I don't want to break my PVC, but I want to see if this will, nah, there's no way I can stretch that over that. So I could cut this valve off and just put another one on, slide it up there. That would probably be ideal. In fact, I might do that. The only problem is this is pressurized with water from out there. So I'd have to drain this into a bucket, cut this off. My stand pipe is going to be over here, my observation pipe, and my fill pipe is going to be right here. So I thought about even putting an elbow here and bringing it back this way toward this stand pipe. I wanted to leave this slack here and not just cut it and put my elbow right here real short, because if I did have a problem with the plumbing somewhere and I needed to cut this out, like the valve failed or something, I wanted some wiggle room to leave me some space here. This is a lot. So maybe I will just go ahead and shut the water off, drain this out, cut this, and then go ahead and slide this over. And then I'll have a nice fit there. Okay. So I'm just trying to be real super careful here with knives, with whatever I'm setting in here. When I was putting these screws in, I don't know if they'll come out in the camera so I have the right angle. I like picked up one at a time, put one in one washer. I didn't have them laying around, so I'd step on them and puncture through the rubber. So I'm just trying to be super careful so I don't screw it up. Okay, same thing here. I've got a couple pipes here. So this will be a little bit of a pain, a little bit more of a pain, but I think it's still pretty doable. So I've got my mark here. Took me a minute to find it. Make sure I had plenty of this rubber tucked back this direction. I could push it all the way around the back edges. And this spot right here, I don't know if that's coming out in the camera. Actually, that little piece of glue came from right there. So I'm going to come just a little bit to this side of it. I'm going to call that it. Here goes nothing. I need to make sure these edges are smooth. Some people put tape over these edges too, just to keep it from tearing. Let's do that. So that's a good fit. All right, good. I'll slide it back all the way here. Sort of the same thing. We'll make sure the rubber can reach everywhere. Goes in place. There's the end of my pipe right there. So it reaches up high enough up here. I can stuff it in that back corner pretty easily. This right here, I can feel the so you don't want to make your hole out here, right? Because then when you push the rubber back, it'll be the hole might be not where you want it to be. It might be pulling on the rubber from one side or the other. So just make sure to reach back there where it's right against the wall. That'll be the marking point. Make sure there's nothing I'm thinking of or missing here that I'm going to screw up. I have some rubber here that I can pull around this way if I need to. So, and it looks like there's plenty to go back in that corner. At least there is up here even. So, yeah, I think that'll be right there. So, okay, I got it all trimmed around the top edge here. It's just falling down inside. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to let some of this glue dry before I fill it with water to test it for leaks. So basically I doubled the rubber over the pipe, stretched it over it, put a hose clamp on it, and then just caked it with the latex roofing cement, just as extra added precaution. So I didn't video that because it's just so hard to hold this back, and a lot of what I was doing was by feel, and you can see I way overdid it there. But hopefully it won't leak. That's the goal. Piping comes out here. Here's how this is going to work. So this valve is closed right now. This will be a drain valve. So this is low. The rocks are going to come up to about here and just underneath this pipe. the gravel layer, then there'll be a sand layer, of course, and then the dirt layer on top of that. So if it fills up above the gravel layer, the water level, or even into the sand layer, actually I'm going to have a little bit into the sand layer where it actually will spill out here and go down here and go out the building that way. Okay, so that'll just be an overflow. That'll be an emergency overflow and also a working overflow if we just want to start filling it from that end and then just let it kind of wash all the water that's been sitting there through, put in fresh water, fine. That should work. If I just want to drain the whole thing, I'm going to open this valve here and that'll just drain everything out. Say almost everything. This isn't quite on the bottom, and that's part of why I had so much trouble stretching the EPDM rubber around this on the inside, because this was so close to this corner, and I wished I had moved this over a little bit further. It would have just been easier to work on. And I'm still going to build a little box out here with a shelf that we're going to put pots on and plants, but it's going to have a door that we can lift up and get to this valve if we need to. Okay, so that's the thinking behind that. Here's how this worked. So if we just pretend this first piece here is the EPDM rubber, you can see it kind of makes a little bit of a lip there. Then the next step is to stretch a second piece over it as a gasket. Okay, so you can see I've stretched a second piece over it and pulled the second piece over the first piece, so the first piece is sticking out right there. And so that just kind of makes an extra gasket, so when you put the hose clamp on, it gives it, hopefully the hose clamp won't tear the primary seal, and that'll be this inner piece. This will just be sort of a gasket and an insulator for the hose clamp. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Now this hose clamp is a little small for this. You can see it doesn't quite go all the way over the rubber pieces. I'd like to pull it back further, but if I open it any further, it'll come all the way open. So I tightened it down a little bit there, and that just kind of makes a seal around there. This one isn't tightened down very tight. This is just for an example. And obviously this is stainless steel hose clamp from Napa. So that's supposed to make the seal by itself. And if you watched most of the things, any of my videos, you know I overkill everything. That's why I gooped all the latex roofing cement all around it. So just as a backup, I guess. Okay. Getting it filled up here. Just wanted to have a look at these and make sure that they still looked okay, that the rubber hadn't pulled through. So what I wished I didn't have to put this angle on. I could have put this straight in. It would have made it easier putting the rubber over these pipes had I made this wall straight, because the pipes would have come straight through, and then I could have put the rubber right against the concrete wall, flush up against the concrete wall, okay? And I don't know what I did wrong in the corner there, but I wasn't able to stuff it all the way back against the wall. In other words, I wasn't able to push the rubber over the pipe all the way against the wall, so there was some space behind the rubber where it stopped. And I couldn't get it to stretch further because I don't know if I didn't allow for more. The other thing I wish I'd done is that lower pipe down there. I wished I'd moved it further out this way. Even though it's very close to the bottom, it would have been fine, but I just had almost no working room back there in that tight corner. So I wish I brought the stuff out further. I was trying to keep this plumbing all back against the wall here, but I could have brought it out further, you know, out 6 inches or so, and that would have made it just a ton easier. I'm still going to make my box right along here, from this part right here over, roughly, to cover up the pipe and to have a shelf for plants or potted plants rather. It is Colorado. In any event, so what I did to make up for that, because I was worried about, since the rubber wasn't all the way against the wall, that the water pressure or the gravel pressure would push it back, tear the seal, tear the rubber off the hose clamp, or tear it out from the hose clamp. So what I did was I took a can of Great Stuff, and this might not be visible, but I just sprayed it all back underneath there to fill that space, so that it would be that blank space behind there, that gap would be filled up with foam. Okay, so that goes all the way around the pipe and all the way down to the bottom back down here. So you can feel it right there. It's right there. It's all gone all around the pipe there, so nice and solid. That's good. I don't think any pressure from here is gonna be able to push back or tear that off. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just gonna fill it up. And we're not gonna fill it up like a swimming pool, but we're gonna fill it up to probably above that mark right there. I'll stop it. I'll make a Sharpie mark on the rubber in a couple places, and then we'll leave it for a couple days and just make sure it doesn't leak anywhere. And then if it's still holding water, then good. Then we'll open that valve over there. That valve right there. We'll drain it out. And I put a little screen on the end here just to cover just to keep bugs or mice or whatever from going inside. So that allows us to drain it out. Once I'm satisfied with that, then we'll go ahead and put the tubes in that are going to allow us to view the water levels, or to put a pump in, or whatever we need to do on both ends. And then we'll put the rock bulbs around them, and we'll put a piece of EPDM rubber over the rock bulb. Yep. And then we'll be able to start filling with gravel, and then sand, and then dirt, and then we'll be able to plant plants. Cool. Okay. Oh, so the other thing I did in video was, if you remember on this can wall here, the plastic came up to right here, where the wall came up vertically. The plastic stops right here. That left me this much space on the angle, kind of a 45-degree angle of this, that I spread the latex roofing cement, and then I pulled the EPDM rubber over it, and then just hung these clamps on the backside just to give it some tension. I did that, 3 or 4 days ago. Some places it's not touching, obviously, because I can still press it in, but other places it feels like it's sticking pretty well, so that might or might not stick. And I might not have had to do that, because once you fill it with gravel and then sand and then dirt all the way up to here, we're going to fill it with dirt all the way up to this edge. It's going to hold that EPDM rubber against the wall. So the glue might be not necessary. I'm going to go ahead and do it around this edge anyway, even though it might not be very useful because there's so many overlaps here. Another reason that this angle made it harder is there's just going to be a whole ton of overlapped rubber here in this corner. It's not going to be visible. The dirt's going to smash it all up against pretty flat, but still kind of a little bit more of a pain to work with than if it was a rectangle shape.